I don't know why.
Um,
Yeah, your internet is lagging. I don't know why. I don't know why. Hello? Alison?
Yeah, she just dropped off.
Apparently. Oh boy. And the radio, having problem with the radio also. I I don't know what to say. We may have to just, yeah, she dropped right off. All right. I think I will just what do a short devotion here. Yes, yeah. Okay. All right, my devotion this morning is the word. First John said in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. Now there's no English um analysis or you can use with that phrase to bring it to proper understanding. But the Greek plays that out clearly. So if you decide that you are going to go through the Greek and see what it says, you will end up with a similar idea that the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And this is the whole idea of God. If the time come when we can understand and who God is and what God is and the context of that being God and where God came from. And if we can do that, then we will become like God. The issue right now is that we are finite beings, and we are dealing with an infinite issue. Alison, we can't hear you, so we'll take you next week because it is not coming through. All right, I think we need to go without Alison today. Just think that's that will be it. Yes, so the issue of who God is makes it even easier for us to
you
understand.
talking in
I'm trying to mute. I didn't get into mute either. I don't know what has happened. For those who are listening to me, I want to apologize for what is happening. It's something that's beyond our control this morning. I don't know. I'm surprised to see Candice and Gabriel and Tyler got on. But we are having problem from the studio. That's what happened. Alison there was happening there. And we got to go with it. So I was saying that the knowing that we cannot define God fully is one of the objective reasons that we use to accept him as our Lord and Savior and trust in his power and his ability to do things because we have found ourselves in such a situation. And this morning, we will be discussing our what is faith, religion, our experiences, and the experiences of others. I hope that those who are listening to us this morning will be so blessed. Just let us pray. Our Father and our God, we give thee thanks for your grace and for your mercy, for your love, for what you have done for us in time past, what you are doing for us today, and what your promises for tomorrow. We ask that all those who are listening to us this morning, that you reach out and you touch them in special ways, that they too will come to the place to recognize that you are God of love and a God of mercy, but more so you are God of power and you are God of forgiveness. May the joy of the Lord fill our hearts and our souls this morning. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen and amen. I want to go short one word to the wise. We are going through a time of crisis, but the people of the world do not see the crisis. We are going through a time of crisis as far as the church and the prophecy is concerned. But again, the people who ought to know better do not see the crisis in the prophecy. I want to deal with two crises uh, in the next 1 minute. One is the crisis that we are going through in the world. We are having a fall of morality that is making things that was once simple difficult to contain and difficult to embrace, because morals have become an option or opinion. And morals are no longer fixed. There's no longer a settled idea of morality. And because of that, we are seeing a lot of strains. We are seeing a lot of broken homes, broken relationships. We are seeing a lot of terror in the world. We are seeing a lot of crime and all these things because there's no set morality. And morality, it's like if you begin to pour put a leaking barrel, it may appear full for a long time, but eventually the water will decrease and decrease until it becomes that it will be obvious that you will see that there's no water. Morality is the same. As it ebbed away and things that you embrace and things that you embrace. I don't know if you are seeing how young ladies dress now when they are going to the parties or fete or whatever they call them. You recognize there's the decadence is coming on, but nobody seems to notice it. And it is getting worse and worse and worse. And sometimes you driving out in the morning and you see some ladies coming from party and you wonder if they came from the beach. But no, they came from a fete. And that's how morality is ebbed away and ebbed away without you noticing things are getting worse and worse and worse. And those same parents who one time would have understood what is diabolic, they no longer see it that way because it grows gradually on you. Another thing that is growing gradually on us is the issue of what is happening as far as the end time prophecy is concerned. I I am still seeing people besieged by the idea of what is happening in Rome, besieged by it. Everything comes out of their mouth, have a Romish idea. I'm talking about people who are reading and who are supposed to be folks who ought to know what the prophecy is. Failing to recognize the world is fastly changing in a way that will bring about the end, even with Rome intervention. And when I look at the whole issue of the conference that they had in Germany, the Munich conference on security, and I recognize people who were once fringe groups are speaking at the conference now. We are seeing far-right people, religious nationalists speaking at these conferences, and they are more and more, they are having an appeal across the board that almost every country in Europe are fighting against the rise of far-right movements. And I'm seeing a sleeping church. When I say a sleeping church, no, the Christian church are asleep all over the world to this. In fact, for the most part, they have joined them in the diatribe. They have joined them in the things that they are saying. And I'm saying we are slowly walking over a cliff. The Bible said, let you who have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit is speaking. And I'm continuing to speak. A guy called me from Birmingham a few days ago, and we spent about an hour just discussing these prophecies because he was one of those, or one of the many, who saw everything through the eyes of Rome and not seeing, although the Bible is clearly telling us in these last days the power of the ram-like beast, the power of America. We are still seeing everything through the eyes of Rome. Yes, Rome will have a part to play, but what is building up is to give Rome that part that she could play. A word to the wise is sufficient. Now, this morning, those who are listening to us, Candice, Gabriel, and Tyler, and myself, we will be discussing religion. I want to start by saying, what is religion? Religion is a set beliefs, a group of people put together, and they have a belief. It could be sacred. Most times it's sacred, but it's really a worldview system, a system of worldview. When I say I'm in a religion, that's why people say, In Brazil, football is like a religion. That's what they mean. Don't mean that actually worship it. They mean the worldview. Everything that is generated from the thing of football. And that's why Weber said that religion hold the society together. It set views. It give people a sense of belonging. That's why people say, well, the people when they get old and they don't do all the wrong things, they get in a church and things, that is misunderstanding what has happened. As you get old, your ability to move about and all social institutions and social things become less available to you. And when you go to those places, people hardly take you seriously when you get old. As you get old, you lose all your independence, you know. As you get older, especially if you get old and you're not very educated, you will lose all your independence. So the only place that make you feel as how you always felt will be in religious bodies. When you go to the church in Mandiro, you go to the mosque, you find people still treat old people as part of. And then they meet other old people there too, who they can talk and reminisce with. So you find as you get older, you gravitate more to the church. That is if you had a feeling of church before, eh? There are folks who gravitate more to the bottle. But that's what it is. So religion bears that out. So when Max Weber said that it holds the society together, that's what he meant. It also helped us to instill laws and value system of the society, so the society could have a constant value system. So religion takes care of all of that. But that I am dealing with an academic point of view, and not because an academic point of view it is right. So I want to bring Tyler and Candice in. Candice, how do you see religion? When somebody say religion, how you see religion?
Well, I think religion is really, or for me, my understanding of it is just your set of beliefs that you have in, I would say, some form of higher power, to put it broad. So there are different denominations or religions, as we know, and it has to do with you believing in a supreme being, possibly someone who created you, someone who controls the different events that takes place, and somebody that we look to generally for guidance. So examples of some religions we have would be Christianity, which has several different denominations, Hinduism, Muslim, Buddhist, all these different types. And each one is set apart based on what you believe, based on what sacred books would teach, or history would teach, based on traditions that are passed on from generation to generation. So that's just my general understanding of what religion is.
If somebody say to you, I don't need religion, what would you say to them?
You don't need religion?
If somebody say, Tyler, you can jump in there too, you know. If somebody says, oh, I don't need religion. I think there's a lot of corrupt confusion and I could live without that. What would you say to them?
I mean, it is their choice, their decision, but they will, I know for a fact, they will find themselves in a predicament where, let's say they lost a loved one, and they find themselves struggling to deal with that loss, and they go to all different manners of trying to cope, and they may lose itself in that process. I think that's where religion comes in and helps, specifically belief in God and the second coming. Comfort.
I mean, to add to what Tyler is saying in terms of some people feel like they don't need a religion. Now, I differentiate between a religion and a relationship. So I think you could have a religion. So that's why I define religion as a set of beliefs. You have certain core values that this particular belief subscribes to. So some religions, you can't eat certain things, you observe certain days, you have certain practices. I think all of that is religion. But I think outside of religion, and something that's more important for me, is a relationship with that higher power that you have, that you believe in. You know, so I think to the person who says that they don't need a religion, I would start with talking about a relationship. You may not need a religion, or you may be at that point right now, but I would say you need a relationship with that higher power. And with that relationship, getting to know and communicate with and grow, then I think the religion aspect will fall into place, where you would then seek a transformation in your life. You start to observe certain things and kind of fit in, not really fit in, but kind of subscribe to a certain set of beliefs after having that relationship.
Okay. But what if I say I don't need this relationship, I good. I have my money, I have my job, I have my family. What are you telling me about? I have no shortcomings. I am a good person. I do not sin. Why should I need this religion? Tiger, what the help us with that? Why should I? I good. I don't do no wrong things. I have my job. I have a good job. I
No,
can pay my
that's
bills.
that's kind of hard to answer, especially if they're, everything seems to be going correct in their life.
I mean,
feel the need.
I hope I'm not cutting you across, but Tyler said something interesting. Everything seems to be going okay. And I don't think any human being could sit back and say everything is good with me. You may have your job, everything may not be perfect at your job. You may have your family, everything may not be perfect in your family. So I think there is a need for a relationship with a higher power, because if you sit and you look at world events, you look at natural disasters, you look at the state of the economy, and you probably don't even need to look so broad. You look at your own life, your health, your family, your finances, something, and Tyler alluded to it in the beginning when he spoke about losing a loved one. From time to time in your life, you will go through some experiences that you cannot make it through on your own, and you will need to look at some higher power. If we look at persons who claim to be atheists and agnostics and these sorts of things, if you go through some kind of life-changing event, you got into an accident, something happened, the first thing anybody would say is, oh God, you would call upon God. So sometimes you may feel like everything okay, but at some point in time, something will happen to you that you will have your back against the wall, and you have to look up and say, there needs to be a higher power. I need some sort of help. So that's what I would say to that.
What are your experience?
I just want to
Gabriel is there.
yeah.
We want to see your pretty face now. We want to see your pretty face now. I don't know why you're trying to hide from us.
I can't put on the camera this morning, but thank you. So I just wanted to continue, ask what would you say? I think if it is I was talking to someone and they say that they don't need religion, majority of the times when persons say that, they would have gone through something, as Candice would have mentioned, probably in the church, or probably a life-threatening experience, and they would have found that, the supreme being that they would serve, whether it's the supreme being they would have served was not there for them, or even the church members, or whatever religion they or building that they would have gone to worship that higher being was not there for them. So majority of the times when it is they say they don't need religion, it stems from them seeing that the God or the supreme being that they serve were not there for them. They wasn't there for them, or the persons in their church or in their other the mosque or the temple, they weren't there for them. So I think the first thing to ask somebody when it is they say that is, what would have happened, what would have led you to say that, you don't need a religion, or something along the lines of that. And from there you will get to see what would have caused them to say that they don't need religion, or they don't need God.
There's somebody listening to me right now, listening to us right now. You are saying they should, and they feel that they don't need religion. You are saying that, how should they treat with themselves? And someone said, Gabby, if somebody listening to us right now, and the same thing that you are saying, they have experienced those said things, how should they treat with themselves as they listen? You understand what I'm asking?
Yeah.
I am here. The church have done me so much wrong. I don't feel comfortable, and I've decided to stay away from them. And I am home now, but I happened to turn on to this program this morning, and I recognize that this sister was just talking about me.
Mhm.
What should I do now?
Well, I can talk about our church. I don't know about in the other denominations. When I say our church, we are Seventh-day Adventists.
Mhm.
A lot of persons leave the church because of what persons would have done them in the church. And sometimes what I tell myself, or if it is we are having discussions and saying, I mean, it's very hard to say. I mean, it's easy to say, but it's hard to practice. But you shouldn't go to a church or you shouldn't go to a mosque or the temple because of persons in the church. When it is you go for, as Candace would have mentioned earlier on, um, your belief. You should go for the relationship that you have with this higher or supreme being. You know, you don't go to church for persons. You don't go to church for friends or for family members or to find a boyfriend or a girlfriend. You go because of your relationship with God, and it should be to the point where it doesn't matter what it is people say about you, what it is people do to you. You know, you're not going for them. You're going for you and the relationship that you have in this higher being. Now, I'm saying it, and as I mentioned, it sounds easy,
It's
but
not.
it's not. It's
It's not.
very hard to do.
And
Yeah.
if I could add in as well, I remember hearing somebody say, you would go to work and people on work might give you trouble. Your
Mhm.
boss might give you trouble, but you're not going to quit your job
Mhm.
because you have a bigger agenda there. You go in to earn an income, to support your family, to support yourself, whatnot. I think it should be kind of similar with church where exactly what Gabby said. People, you're going to have problems with people wherever you go. Just because a person is a Christian don't mean that they're going to be perfect. So sometimes you go to church expecting certain things and that's not what you're gonna get. But I think you should focus on the bigger agenda, which is your relationship with God, your eternal salvation, and you just being right with that higher power that you have. So just like how you're not gonna quit your job, even though your boss giving you problems and your co-workers is this and that, you shouldn't give up on church or your religion or your belief in God just because of other people.
Yeah, I
But
think that's a very
right,
good
sorry.
analogy. Because a lot of times you go to church to fulfill your role, your position, your post, whether it's AV, technical, um, treasurer, whatever the case may be. And a lot of the times it is kind of like if you're going to work, dealing with all these characters. Um, so yeah, it's just to not really forget them, keep them in prayer, and go for God.
Therefore, what we are saying is the first thing you have to settle in your mind is who God is. And I see you're branded about the idea of relationship, but who God is. Because if I do not see God as all this powerful, benevolent person, then it's easy for me to walk away from God. But if I see God as powerful and benevolent and slow, remember the guy by the outside the temple in Bethsaida. The Bible said he was there for 38 years. Now, 38 years is a long time. 38 years he was lying there waiting for a healing. And the healing he was waiting for was, there was a myth that angel will stir the water, and if you enter the water first, you'll be healed. But he was crippled. He was lying on a bed for 38 years. I could imagine how dry he was, the bed sore, his limbs were not being able to be functioning anymore. But he believed that one day he will enter that water first. The fact that he could have had such a audacious idea in his mind that he, with all these people here, because what he told Christ, there's no one to put me when the water is stirred. There's no one. But yet he was lying there thinking that he will end up in the water first. What do you draw from that? What do you draw from his thinking? What do you draw from those scenes? Any one of you. What do you draw from that? This guy's lying on a mat for 38 years, believing that if he entered that water first when the water is stirred, he'll be healed. And he cannot move, but he's lying there to enter the water first. And he has no one to help him in. What do you draw from him? What do you draw from that? He's
Yeah.
lying there. Fly must be buzzing because he's doing everything where he lying down. Everything. He's doing right on the ground there. And he is hoping that one day he will enter that water first. I mean, talk to me. Or you see that?
You must have incredible faith, well, and hope. Hope that one day it'll happen for him. Maybe the crowd will be lighter and he could move his body into there. Or somebody might be so generous to help him into the water. Who knows?
Candace, Gabby, you want to
I
add?
think in addition to faith, I think it shows a point of desperation where it's like, yes, he is there, he can't move and different things like that. But if you put yourself in his position, what were his options then? You know, he couldn't do anything else. So he was at a point of desperation where he was like, this is the best option for me right now. This is what I see as the only way I could be helped or I could be healed or something like that. And I would have mentioned it earlier. Sometimes you have to get to a point of desperation for you to really, you know, rely on or to get that experience that you're looking for and these sorts of things. And like you would have said, at 38 years, it's easy to sit and say 38 years, but to go through something for 38 years, you know, and you mentioned earlier about, you know, your view of God. You know, why would God, if God is loving and he's kind and he's good, why would he allow somebody to suffer for 38 years? Why would he not do something about it, you know? And many people might have their experience where, you know, why, if God is so good, why is he allowing me to go through so many difficult things? But it may just be to strengthen your relationship, to strengthen your faith, or maybe just to get you at a point of desperation where you can look to God wholeheartedly and just, you know, sometimes God gives us no other option. So we could finally put the faith and trust that we have to in him so he could do what he has to do for us.
Yeah. All right. But this is the point where we can speak about faith, because it will take tremendous faith. Even as Elijah at the book church, he said, all the prophets, man, only me alone left. His faith was tested to the ultimate, you know. Even Jonah say that, you know, why go down there, you will repent and I will look like a fool. And Jonah went and he slept in the inner part of the boat. And the storm was going on, and Jonah knew the storm was going on, but he knew why the storm was going on. And because he knew why the storm was going on, he did not, he was not troubled. And sometimes when we are talking about these long spans where we cannot hear God, the only thing that comfort us through that is if we know who God is, you know. If you don't know who God is, you'll be terrified by what you're going through, you know. And you might be tempted to go by the Obeah man because you don't know who God is. And sometimes we go back to where we started. The thing to build that someone should build is try to find out who God is. And the best way to find out who God is, so look how he have led you in the past. When you are going through trials, embrace it, because these trials can serve for some other day to say, well, God acted this way then, so I can have calm now. Sometimes when I'm going through trouble, I think back at times when I was going through trouble and he lent a hand and make me know that he is still there. So someone who might be traumatized by the church, what I would say to them this morning is that you try to remember what God had done for you in time past. An incident that may have happened that you knew for sure it was the hand of God. And that will make you know that he can do it again. You know, the song say, you do it again? Yes, he can do it again. What about faith now? How do I build my faith? How do I build my faith? Anybody? How someone may be there. I remember I was speaking in St. Helena, and when I finished, I was speaking about embracing God and things like that. And a young lady walked up to me and I was through. And she said, I heard everything you said, Pastor, but how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you build that faith to say, I will trust in God? How do you build that faith to say, though he slay me as Job, yet will I trust him? How do you build that faith to say, this thing seems insurmountable, but I will stay the course because I know God will come true for me? How do you build that faith?
So I could start. I think I like to think of faith as like a muscle. And how do you build your muscles? You have to exercise. Now, exercise is a process whereby you're actually breaking down your muscles for it to get bigger. So it's a painful process and it's a difficult process. Sometimes the hardest part of exercising is making up your mind to get up and go and exercise. But then when you start into it, it gets a bit better. And I use that as an analogy for your faith. I think faith is something that a major part of building it is exercising it, is actually putting it into practice. And I know some things might seem insurmountable, but there are smaller things that God allows us to go through that builds our faith for bigger things. So trust in God in the quote unquote small things, and exercising it so that when bigger things come along, you'll be able to, the little things will add up and you'll be able to strengthen those faith muscles and be able to have faith in God for the bigger things. Now it's easy to say, sometimes when you go through things, it's difficult for you to trust in a higher power, somebody you can't see, these sorts of things. But I think that's really one of the most effective ways to build it, is just trusting the God that he knows what he's doing. So yeah.
Right, Tyra, that'll be one of you. Want to add to what she's saying? Building this faith.
A little bit. I would say, forgiveness, embrace the opportunities you have to forgive people and forgive yourself even. And yeah, just surround yourself with people that, well, like-minded believers, who are positive, like a good support system within the faith. And that should help you build faith.
You see that idea of surrounding yourself with like-minded individual, that is so powerful. Eh? You see, when there's a saying, show me your friends and I will tell you who you are. Our friends influence us in so much ways. Sometimes we don't think so. So I'm hanging out with this friend, but this friend is a lawbreaker. This friend is not into godliness. And I tell myself, well, I know who I am, so I can rhyme here. That is not quite true. That is not quite true. The people around you, in many ways, they influence you. And the things they say is recorded on your mind. And that is why you find a family may grow up together and might be 6 children and 5 of them walking in one direction and the other one walking in opposite direction. And you ask yourself, well, how that is so? And then some people say, well, everybody have their own mind. No. Last night, I was having a discussion with Fitzroy Haywood, and that same idea of mind and how the mind works and why we make choices that are different. And all those things are things we learn to do. And that one family member may have been listening to a different voice, a different friend, seeing something differently. So while the majority of the family is walking in the way that the parents have laid down, this one member could be hearing different voices. So one of the steps, and in my book, Keys to a Victorious Lifestyle, I had that as one of the steps, being around like-minded people. That's how criminals stay and remain criminals, by hanging out with criminals. That's how it happens. And the same thing for a believer or someone who want to build their faith, you got to hang out with people with a like mind. And where you will find those people in abundance? In the church. So the idea of saying that I don't want religion, but I know God. You have heard that before, eh? People say, I don't have to go to church to know God. I don't know how else you're going to know him. But people will say that and they have an argument. You don't have to go to church to know God. That might be so. But you have to go to church, friend, if you want to keep that brilliant faith going. That's why Paul said, forsake not the assembling of yourself together, as the manner of some is. Because Paul was trying to make you recognize by being around people who believe what you believe, it reinforces your belief. It makes you stronger. And the more you stay around people who believe a certain thing, the more you believe that certain thing, whether it's good or bad. So the idea of faith. But Tyler asks them, how do you know that you have faith in God? If you don't know, you don't have it.
Yeah. I was just thinking back, and I don't know, it's beyond just leaning on him in the
Guys.
hard times, when things go wrong.
Mhm.
Even when nothing really going on, I'll just, shoot up a prayer and I have to trust that, it'll work out. Um, He'll work things out for me. I think
Gabby, I'm not seeing you, but how do you know, Gabby, that you have faith in God? How do you know that? And you're not going through the rigors of the home. How do you know it's faith that you have?
So I would start from when I was smaller, right? When I had SEA or even CXC to do. My dad would say,
When you say when you were smaller, they're going to say when that was, because you're still small. So
but
not
that was just a couple of years ago. I mean, that's
Go
all the
ahead.
years, right? So my dad was one of the elders in the church, and Fernand Sagan, you have to be there Wednesday night, you have to be there AY. You can't miss a Wednesday night, and Wednesday night when it is you go to church, sometimes you're coming back late, so you're missing a couple hours of studying, and just getting a chance to breathe. And by the time you reach home, it's late. And what Dad used to say is, if it is you go to church and you have that faith in God, that you can't just leave out God because you want to study. You have to both things have to go hand in hand. So you put your trust in God, you put your faith in God, and then you still do your work on top of it, and everything would work out okay. And just as what he said, it happened. So from there, my faith started. So it was from SE to CXE, and then the latest major thing that happened to me when my faith had to be trusted was when I got in an accident late of last year October, the ending of October. It was a bad accident. It was quite depressing. But I sat on my bed for 2 days, not knowing what to do. The only time I would have gotten up is to go in the washroom or try to get something to eat. And that is where faith really came in. And that is when I realized that, if it is I don't have faith and put my trust in God, that things would be okay. Then nothing will work out. And exactly as I did, things went back to somewhat normal. My major thing was getting to work. So I live in Chase Village and I work in Erin. And that is not a easy distance. And I didn't know what to do. I had no vehicle to use now because the vehicle was damaged. And I just had to put my trust and faith to God that, somehow things would work out. The furthest I would have traveled was from here to USC, which is very short compared to Chase Village to Erin. And I just had to have faith that God would work things out. And I just had faith and put my trust in God. And now I have a vehicle to use to go. I don't have to travel anymore. So as you would have mentioned, faith doesn't come just like that. First, you have to know who God is. You have to build that relationship with him. And as Candice would have mentioned, you have to exercise that faith.
Okay. Well, let me talk about that. When I was very, very sick, I was suffering from trigeminal neuralgia. And it was, if you don't know what that is the tri-nerves on your face, eyes, mouth, and nose. And the pain was awful. I will not wish that pain on my any enemy. If I ever had one, or even on the devil, I wouldn't wish that pain on. That's the kind of a pain it was. Eating, breathing, hearing high-pitched sound, telephone, the fan, all those are going to cause pain. And eating caused the most of the pain. And we had a crusade in Railway Road Enterprise. And although I wasn't well, I said I would do the crusade. I said, but for sure, the Lord will want me to do this crusade. So for sure, he's going to heal me. It wasn't like that. Some night I preached with pain like that. We baptized 101 persons, but the pain was so glaring, that so terrifying, that I stopped eating and all. If you think I'm small now, you should have seen me then. It just wasn't what it ought to be. And I remember I'm in Baltimore waiting for full finance to have this operation. And one morning I said I will not stay in this hotel for another day. That time there were 2 months going in, 3 months, you know. I said I would take a bus and I go down to the bus station. I would take a train and say I would go to Washington. I said I would go to where Obama lives and see the White House and things. Never did before. And I took a train, $2.50 was a transfer train, take me to and back from Washington to Baltimore. And when I was walking up Pennsylvania Avenue, I just felt a pain, excruciating pain. And then I blacked out. I sat on the pavement. And at that point in time, nobody knew where I was. Nobody but God and God alone. And I'm sitting there and I didn't have my documents on me. I was just sitting there in this blackout. And then slowly I began to see, but the pain is still there. And I see some guys walking, and they're walking. As they walk, they had this jersey on, Orioles. And Orioles was a stadium opposite where I was staying. So I say maybe I should walk back. I did not go up to the White House. I say I'm going to walk back now. The pain is there, hardly seen. And I'm walking back, following these guys. And as I followed these guys, they went back to a train. So I said they had to be going to the game. So I sat behind them. And the train sat there. I sat in the aisles. There were 2 ladies sitting next to me. And then the train rumbled out. And as the train rumbled out, a big white guy walked through the cabin and then he said, "Present your tickets." So I pulled my small ticket out. And then I look next to me, I see the lady's ticket was some long ticket, about 8 inches and about 2 inches across. And then I recognized, well, wait now, this is not the train. It's not the train. But then I saw it marked Baltimore. So I recognized it's going to Baltimore, but this was not the transfer train. This is a private train. And then I look up. For the first time, I'm seeing on the wall, Mark, your next free ride will not be as comfortable as the first. So I recognize now that I'm in morbid danger here. So I sat now, and then I began to perspire. And it was the first time for the morning, the pain left me. No pain. If I knew that was the way to deal with the pain all the time, I would have gone that way. The pain left me. And I'm on this train now. I'm trying to figure out, what should I say? What should I do? And the guy walked down the aisles. He walked in front of me. He took the ticket from those folks in front. He tore those tickets and he walked to the lane that I was in. The 2 ladies there, he took one lady ticket, he tore it, handed back apart, tore it, and he just left me alone. He looked through me as if I wasn't there. And he went to the back. So I did say, because I was fidgeting, he's going to come back to me. And he went from chair, from lane to lane, from lane to all the way until he went into the next cabin. And I recognized that although I was there, God was there with me. In the midst of it, a new realization came over me that this God is a real God. And I sat there, and when I went all the way to Baltimore, I came up the train. As I passed in front of the train, I see the big guy there again, and nobody said anything to me. And I went back to the hotel. And that stayed with me, that in your extremities, he can come true for you. I know sometimes and at that moment also, I told myself, as dangerous as this operation was, in fact, this operation is so dangerous. There's about 4 or 5 places in the world that do this operation. And I said, at that point in time, I said, I'm going to be okay. If this God, I mean, why he would spare me the indignities and things like that if he wasn't going to heal me? And when I went to that operation, it was supposed to last for 4 hours. It lasted for 6 hours and 14 minutes. But I knew nothing. The last thing I know is a guy saying to me, "I'm going to give something to you that you will enjoy." Everybody I give that to, they enjoy it. And he just started to figure with the IV. And then all of a sudden I felt frozen. I couldn't bat my eyes. I couldn't move. I couldn't turn. And I was still hearing him around me. And he said, "You see, you're enjoying it already." And then the last thing I heard. Next thing was 6 hours later. I was sitting on a bed and looking up and seeing some folks looking down at me and calling me out, Mr. Brown, Mr. Brown. And I walk away. I always had faith, but my faith is stronger now. And that faith, friends who are listening to me, that faith causes me not to take on people, whatever they say about me, whatever they do, whatever situation I am in. I always tell myself, I'm going to get out. I'm going to get out. It will not continue like this. And I just want to say it to you this morning, whoever listened to me, that's what faith help you to go on. When the ground is rocky, when the place is arid, when the place is windy, when it is stormy, when it's hot, whatever it is, because of that faith, you are able to walk through it. And that's what faith does. It takes away trouble. You will be troubled, you know. You will be harassed, you know. But it takes away that bite of the harassment, that this is only for a time. You know? Joy cometh in the morning. This is only for a time. And that helps you. It helps you with life. Anybody else want to talk?
I mean, and as we would have mentioned before, that's why it's important to surround yourself with like-minded persons, because sometimes you need to hear other person's testimony to help you through your own. So, Pastor, I enjoyed hearing you talk about your testimony. I'm in the midst of mine right now.
Okay.
So I've always had trouble with my vision. I've noticed it for the last 10 years. I know you're looking at me and I look like, I'm fine and stuff like that. So I thought the same thing too. I can drive, I can read, I can write, I can do all these things. So I thought nothing was the problem. But I always knew if I close my right eye, it's very blurry in my left eye. And I always knew that, but it never bothered my functioning. So I thought it wasn't a big deal. But then something happened and I decided to do a test to just see the extent of this. So I did a corneal topography. And I was diagnosed with something called keratoconus, which is a degenerative disease in your corneas. And right now, my left eye, you could basically say I can't see out of my left eye. And the disease is also present in my right eye. And it's an incurable disease, meaning that there's nothing that I could do to reverse or fix what has already been done. The only medical option that is available is something to stop it from progressing. So medically speaking, I can't get better. I could just stop it from getting worse, and hearing your testimony is very encouraging in terms of, trusting that God knows what it is he's doing. And just because you're a Christian, just because you do the right thing, just because you obey God doesn't mean you'll be spared from difficulties. Quite the opposite. Yeah. It means that you'll have more challenges, more obstacles. But I choose to believe that every quote unquote negative thing or every challenge or every trial that God sends your way is to build your faith and is to build your relationship and trust with him. And you would have said it before, you have to look back in the past and remember how God would have led you. If he did that before, he will come through again. And even hearing other person's testimony, if he could do that for you, Pastor, I know that you're a pastor, but it doesn't mean God loves you more than he loves me. Exactly. So he could do it for you and he could do it for me. So whoever is listening out there, you're in the midst of your challenge, you're in the midst of your testimony, just have faith that, God's promises are sure and he is faithful. He will not allow you to go through something that he cannot take you through. And if he did it for us, he can do it for you. We are no better in God's sight than you are, whether you're a Christian or Muslim, whether you believe or not. God does love you and God can and will take care of you.
Okay, Gabby spoke about the stuff already. Tiger, you want to say something? I know you're so blessed by God, you don't know what we are talking about.
No, your stories were very moving. One instance I saw him actually with multiple instances actually. I know I'm on the road a lot. But one time, I mean, sometimes it's so powerful. I think this is the most powerful one because like life-threatening. But I was in Port of Spain making a sales transaction, and I was robbed at gunpoint.
Wow.
He hit me with a gun butt and looked like he was taking everything. He went through my car, took my phone, wallet, thought he was gonna take the key and go. But he had me on the floor there, glasses flew across the floor underneath the car. So I couldn't see. I was just like send up a silent prayer. God, what did I get myself into? Take me through. Please let me leave here with my life. Just my life, that's it. Let them take everything, leave me with my life. And after some squabbling, the guys talking over my head, I can't even remember what they were saying at this point because it was just a blur. But I just heard the guy with the gun say, go away. So I look up confused. He lets me live, boy. See, I grabbed the key off the floor and I just left after that. And realizing only after the fact where actually where I was. Close to, I guess that's Laventille. Just before you reach the Port of Spain by the clock tower, opposite the market is where I met the person. It's like, wow, I'm actually leaving here with my life. So I prayed, thank God. When I got back home in South, I told my parents, they were like, what
Hmm.
did you just go through? So that experience was forever burnt into my memory. Going through that. And I think he was there throughout the whole thing. Because even before that instance happened,
Mhm.
I feel like he was trying to move me and tell me something is going to happen. But me being naive and trusting at that time, I was like, nah, maybe his cell service kind of bad and traffic, he taking a little long to come.
Hmm.
Not knowing it was a ploy to set me up.
Hmm.
Um, so people say listen to
Innocent.
your thoughts in your head. Yes, I should have listened to God and just get out of there initially, but I didn't heed the warning. So that taught me to listen to when he speaks to you the first time.
Okay. No, these for those who are listening, these stories, if you haven't had had an experience, I'm saying some of the hard time that you are going through, if you had allowed yourself to go through it instead of trying something that was not of God to escape it, you may have had an experience that you never thought you could have had. And I'm saying sometimes God never said that you will not be in trouble. I hear Candace say that earlier. He said, but I will be with you in trouble. He said, those who live godly in this world will suffer persecution. So it is something we should expect. Don't be surprised when it happens to you. But always remember that if you trust in God, He's going to give you a reason to trust on Him further as you go ahead. Because this is the God we serve. He does things that we can have something to say to someone who is so battered by the enemy, who is more powerful than he is. Because I was kidnapped and tied up and all kind of thing like that. I'll give that another time with guns in the back seat of my car and tied me up and all of that. And I'm here because I live. I made it through. I mean, I've taken to the cane field and I'm here. I made it through. I made it through. So God is, in fact, 3 o'clock in the morning, a guy picked me up in a old car. He had to be an angel. I was bareback because they took off my shirt and tied me up with my shirt and things like that. And this guy still stopped for me, an old guy. He still stopped. And when I stopped, he still stopped with this dark man. I had a bigger beard. And I'm in the wee hours of the morning. You would think nobody's stopping for you. And this guy still stopped for me. Took me into his car. Took me this guy in the back seat also. And he drove and I told him my story and he took me straight to the Princess and police station and dropped me off there. And as I look back on these things, I say that was an angel who appeared there. There's no human being will not stop. They look at you, African, big beard, you're bareback, you're wet, and they have a tall story too. It is not usual for someone to say, an older man, not a young person, who say, but if you try and take a hand of him, an old man, he's 70s and thing, stopped. And I told him, well, they took my car, they kidnapped me, they this and that, and this and that. He said, they beat you? I said, no. He said, come in the car. Telling you. Nothing if I had on a tie and things, they say, well, you look at me and he made an assessment. The only assessment you could have made is this man trying something in this hour of the night. And he still took me to the car. And that was in St. John's Village. And drove with me all the way to Princestown. So I look back at that and I say, those are angels that come at times. And I want to say to those who are listening to us this morning that God is there for you. He is more for you than you are for yourself and that you are for him. But you need to start to trust. Start to trust. It happened to others, so it could happen to you. Do not believe it happened to others because of anything. And I can give you so many, yeah? But I can give you an exciting time when I was saying that cursing God because of what I was going through and saying he doesn't exist. And at that very time, he came through for me. So I know he exists in many ways. And I always say to the members of the church, when all of you leave, I will still be there because I have reason to trust. I have reason to believe. My faith is that strong that I know he lives. Yeah, I know he lives. And I hope that this morning, what you have heard this morning, that whoever listened to me, this was a good day when we should have been on the radio. I don't know because of this. Remember I sent something for you the other day dealing with this radio thing? I still consider what I sent for you, right? Yeah. So until we meet again, let me just say thanks to everyone who tuned in this morning. And until we meet again, may God's blessing be upon you. I just want to get this thing get off of YouTube and then